Okay. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. This is the special public meeting, special town board meeting to adopt the preliminary budget on October 18th, 2018. We did the pledge. We're going to do the business. There's no public comment at this particular meeting. You'll have the opportunity once the preliminary budget is adopted in about 2 weeks to go and have a public hearing on it and make your comments known to the board, and changes can also be made at that time if agreed to by the board. So at this time, I'm going to open up a discussion on the budget. And we'll do it in different pieces. The first piece is I passed out an addendum or amendment to the thing, the budget that was published 2 days ago. We had an error in some of the translation of data from the various inputs. So we are under cap now by $24,040. Previously it was $7,000 and some dollars. So we got that correction. That came mainly from the fact of moving the money from the permanent maintenance in the cemeteries into the revenue of the general fund that was not in there before. So that just gives us a basis of how much more we can spend and still stay under the cap. Of course, if we spend all that money, then the taxes go up approximately 2%, the actual tax rate. So just to give you a flavor of what it's all about. So with that, are there anything other than salaries or special projects that anybody wants to change, address, or discuss?
I'd like to continue to look at the attorney. In 2017, we budgeted $57,000. In 2018, we budgeted $96,000, and that was because of the zoning revision. But we're still $66,000 under budget there for the year, and we're budgeting $90,000 again. And it just seems like,
Well,
it seems like there's a lot of money being, I don't want to use I'm not saying this in a bad way, but sort of hidden there. Like that's where we're going to have a lot of money left over. And so if we start getting close to the cap or whatever, I mean, there's a lot of money there that I don't think we're going to spend.
well, do you know how much it's going to cost as we go through zoning revision to have the attorneys look at all the zoning revision stuff? Because none of that's been done.
Well, no,
And that's what I thought was going to happen this year, and it didn't. I don't know that when it's over a year ago that we had to make that assumption.
let me find it here, hold on.
Yeah, I know we're not spending it all because we're not doing zoning revision.
But that's the thing. So 2 years ago when it was budgeted at 57, if it was still at 57 this year, we would still be 20,000 under budget.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have.
And that was without any of the zoning revision. We'd still be 20,000 under budget currently with only 2 months left. So I just feel like it's pretty high, and that may be a place where we can find some of the money to take care of projects that we really think would need to happen,
Then
such as the maintenance or whatever.
the other thing that also went up is the special prosecutor for V&T. That's gone up since last year, when I looked at this year, looking at the rate of spending. So that one went up, I think, 10,000 in and of itself. Yes, the attorney's straight above 50,000. Primarily, half of that's due to us with our normal local laws and technical questions. The other 25,000 is for zoning revision. Dean, do we need zoning revision? You're running it. If we don't, how much can we cut it back?
I want to add another wrinkle to that, and that is, all this year, we have talked about legal problems and not being able to prosecute anyone because we had no money in the budget to get a lawyer, to do anything. All right, so I think, I don't know if this is the lawyer that would do that, but I think we need to start to put some teeth in some of the ordinances we have that are being flagrantly violated. And if we're able to prosecute one or two cases that have been totally ignored, I think that our legal fees need to be there. And that, I'm really tired of hearing that we can't back up the ordinances because we don't have any money to take someone to court.
Well, most of the action comes from the zoning, ZEO, zoning administrator, and he's the one that's got to start the action and
Okay.
say we need it, just like we did the other day on the junk cars or whatever it was.
Right.
And until he brings forth that, the attorney can't do anything.
I understand that, but I'm saying we have to have the funds there
We have
to
them,
proceed.
yeah.
And I think this year is a test whether that 90,000 is good or not
Okay.
because of that zoning thing. All
All right.
And the other thing is, we've added, because we didn't have it there before, the Van Sickle thing.
Yeah.
Which is new.
I will point out in the vehicle and traffic that you talked about, that we budgeted 44,000 for 2018. It's 35,000 this time around, so you already took 10,000 off, but we've still only spent 11,000 of that in vehicle and traffic so far.
So far, but
Yeah.
you've got
I
several
know.
more months to go.
Well, there's 2 months left, and we've spent
Well,
11,000.
it's 3 months left, because you don't see, you're off a month.
Yeah,
so you
great.
got 3 months. So you got a
I
quarter's
still think
worth.
we're gonna have half of that left at the end of the year.
Don't know. Don't know.
Do you have anything to say about the zoning?
Yeah, I do have something to say, but I was letting everybody else finish.
No, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
First of all, let me correct this fact that this is not my zoning revision.
No.
I may have been put in charge
Well,
of
you're
the
the-
process, but it's not mine. You know, the law says that we're supposed to update our master plan of sorts every 10 years, and that's to keep current to what the laws are. Now, if people don't want it, that's fine. I was just put in charge of implementing the suggestions made from the master plan to coincide with, the current zoning laws and bring the current zoning laws up to today's standards. Well, I mean, we talked about bed and breakfasts and more importantly, Airbnbs, which was not mentioned at all. So, I mean, there's things that have changed over time and certainly we're trying to keep pace with that. Now, to answer the question, do we need to have probably $30,000 in for legal fees in changing. So here's the process. The couple of things that we've already passed that came out of the zoning revision. Every time we presented it, the attorneys always got involved and they had to review it. So a couple hours here, a couple hours there. So every section of the law, the law is going to have to be looked at to make sure that the attorney approves. I mean, so even though Neil was an attorney and we technically could have accepted just his work as being okay, we've duplicated that process by having, the attorneys come in and change it to their tweaking. Because everybody's going to interpret their way as to what's the better way to handle it. And so I can easily see $30,000 being spent for zoning revision. I mean, granted, it feels like it's a waste, but, we're doing it every 10 years. So,
Yeah,
divided out over 10 years is only $3,000, not a big
Then that's great.
expense.
I mean, if there's a justification, then great. It looked like a large number to me.
Well,
and I didn't-
I don't dispute that the fact that, $90,000 seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's not
But we
only
are,
zoning.
we are prosecuting, it seems like more. I mean, there's been a phase over the years where the troopers stopped writing tickets in this town. And we can go through why, but, ultimately, they stopped writing tickets. And they've seemed like they're coming back finally. So maybe they got used to our court times being a little different. That was one of the complaints. Maybe it's because of other things. They started writing again. So it's good for revenue, so it should be offset by the attorney's fees to the revenues that are collected. But nonetheless, I mean, we talk about having speed signs, but if we have speed signs and we're not going to enforce the laws, then why have speed signs? So, so it's kind of like a two-way street here. I mean, it's like, we want to put up these, speed limit, blinking, lights that tell people, and then we want to track when's the best time for the cops to come and patrol the area, which means that they're going to be writing more tickets, which means that our attorneys are now going to be more involved. So,
I'm not disputing that. Yeah.
so, I know there's a bunch of complaints of people about certain houses that are in clear violations and probably should be taken down because they're a hazard, to the area. We haven't been enforcing those. There's 3 that I know of. I mean, so if we start going to court for them, I mean, they could be easily $5,000 to $10,000 apiece in enforcing those laws.
Yes.
So while I agree, the number seems high, we haven't been doing some things that maybe we should start doing.
Fantastic, thanks.
Sure. Yeah.
No change, okay. Any other particular item areas?
Well, there are a couple of things we talked about. We talked about the speed signs, and we talked
But
about.
that's under the special projects.
Okay, and we talked,
We'll get to the-
for the rec fees, okay.
We'll do the special fees.
We've also been talking off and on for several years now about putting some money into the buildings here, which are in sad state of disrepair and getting worse, and look terrible, basically. And I'm not saying do everything at once, but let's do something and make a start, and maybe do a little bit more next year, and a little bit more the next year, and then we'll be up to speed. But right now, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's under special projects, though.
That's under special projects.
Yeah, we had that.
We didn't get to that yet.
We didn't get to
Okay,
that.
all right.
We have that big laundry list.
Oh, I thought this is what we were talking about now.
No, I said anything but that and
Oh,
salaries.
okay.
I'm just trying to
okay. Got it.
Do it in
okay.
segments so that we can
Okay.
move through.
I understood. We're squared away on the cemeteries now. We got the $9,000 in there, Nancy, for the stuff that.
Yep, I put it in,
Tara
it's in
needs,
here.
so we're okay on,
Yep,
right, okay. Good,
as long as we take care of the equipment that goes with it.
right, of course. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
The only one thing on that cemetery, I did an analysis, is that if we only take 2 cemeteries and take all their money, we will probably need to put in about 3,000 to 4,000 of tax dollars because they don't have enough money. Now, I don't have an exact number from them when we,
Enough money for what?
that they're giving us for permanent maintenance that we're using to fund this year's cemetery stuff. I just looked today and saw.
What?
I don't get it.
I
I
thought there
thought they
was,
had more than enough money.
yeah.
Well, that's if you take all 3.
But even if you take the 2, I
No, no.
thought there was enough.
No, I thought so too.
One of them has almost nothing, but the Pleasant Plains has a fair amount, as I recall.
No, they both have not too much. Let me just find it here. Okay, it's in here someplace.
And that's based on buying the truck and the trailer.
Well, that's what I said, the equipment, that's outside of the 9,000.
I have it. It's insurance. See if it's tied up in there. No, it's not this thing. Each one has roughly about $6,500 of the 2 that we're taking over. And if you added those 2 together, I don't have it here. You add those 2 together,
You sure Pleasant Plains only has 6,500?
That's not
that's what I
Elliot
looked
thinks.
at when I looked at their permanent maintenance stuff.
Oh, under permanent maintenance?
Yeah, because that's the monies we're gonna have. There's not much else in checking or so, they just have petty change in that, so, I mean, it's that kind of number. Here it is, I got it. It's under the bottom there. Yeah, I estimated Summit for Providence to have about 6,500, and Pleasant Plains have 6,450. So if you add those 2 together, it comes out to 12,950. We're talking about transferring 16,750. So it says there's 3,800 would have to come from taxes if we didn't take up the 3rd cemetery.
And where,
Third Cemetery has about 22,000, that's the one down
the
here.
big one, yeah, what is the balance of their funds then, if it's only 6,500? Because there was a lot more on that list that they gave us. They're not in maintenance funds?
That's maintenance funds.
Yeah, but what about the rest of it?
There's not that much in anything else, maybe 500 in checking or something like that.
All right, I'll have to look, because my recollection is that the numbers for
Well,
Pleasant
I'm
Plains
just
were
saying,
quite
this
a
is
bit
what I,
higher. I mean, I know Provident had very little, but I thought Pleasant
Yeah.
Plains and Schultzville had,
Schultzville has a lot.
and I thought Pleasant Plains was relatively well off too,
Yeah.
but,
I mean,
Perhaps not.
they're spending too.
no, I understand that.
They're mowing and spending,
Yeah,
so.
well, but between now and the end of the year, there's not going to be much of that.
I know,
because
but I don't
clearly-
have, these numbers are from August or July, remember? When we had the
Well, then
meeting.
we may have to come up with a little extra money
So
to
I'm just saying
carry it over, if that's the case.
that, you know, or we take it out of something else. but
Okay,
I'm just saying, we have that
All right,
exposure.
okay.
If we pick
All right.
up the other cemetery, it disappears.
yeah, right. Right.
And we'll have more exact numbers once we
Sure.
get a date and do a physical transfer of funds.
Yes,
So I was just trying to
okay,
forewarn you.
all right.
Okay, over there, you had a question?
It's not a question. I'm very uneasy about this whole cemetery thing. I know we've already got it, okay? But I've never heard the same number, the same story, anything. And I just kind of think that we need something more substantial, more credible in terms of, you two are not even on the same page at this point financially.
Well, these numbers,
And it's making me crazy, okay? Because this is a big ticket item in the long run.
I know.
Okay? So I don't know what to do about it, but I feel really very uneasy about voting on numbers to the cemetery when we don't even have our,
well, the numbers, as I said, are predicated on information we received when we sat down with all three cemeteries in the summer. We
Right.
have not had another go-around to sit down to get an update on the financial situation.
well, to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, we just haven't done it. Unless,
Well, I've been in touch with, playing phone tag with Tim Houlihan, to get this report done.
Right.
But again, as you pointed out, ultimately, it doesn't matter. They could come in with nothing. We
No.
have to do what we have to do.
That's true,
So
but,
if we have to come up with $6,000 for maintenance, or $9,000 for a mower, or
right.
a truck, regardless of what they give us, that's that.
yeah,
But
I mean,
it's going to, one way or the other, it could affect the budget line after the fact, okay?
Yes,
And that's what's making me a little
well,
uneasy.
what do we do? In that case, we need to go what? Go into a contingency fund and take $3,000
out of
out
it,
to
yeah.
cover? I mean, what else are we going to do? It's not as if we have any latitude in saying, no, we don't want to do this because of X, Y, and Z. We're doing it because the state says you have to do it.
Right.
So if we need to scramble to get $3,000,
But is it 12,000 or is it 25,000? That's what's making me nervous, you know?
well, I mean, since I don't have numbers, we'll have to go, I mean, I have numbers not here, then
Yeah.
we'll obviously have to go with what Ray has. My recollection is that the money coming from Pleasant Plains was a greater number, but Ray, Ray has what Ray has, and Schultzville is a significantly higher number. But again,
The thing I'm worried about is bottom line when it comes to this whole budget. And I don't want that affecting the bottom line, to say that we've now got to go over the cap because we didn't know, or, I mean, we've already had a couple of surprises. No reflection on you, Elliot.
well, but no, I understand that, but all I'm saying, I just come back to saying the same thing over and over again, unfortunately, is that we have no choice.
No.
We really have no choice. The state says you have to do this, whether you want to or not. So if that means we need to take $3,000 out of the contingency fund to cover expenses that are not
or some other
anticipated,
fund.
or if we have it left over from the lawyers and we have to move it over, we have to move it over. So we should be able to do that without affecting the cap, right?
Yeah. As we stand right now.
As it stands right now.
Well, as it stands right now, why don't we just plan on $3,000 and put it there? And if we don't use it, then it's left over.
Yeah, I'm not arguing about the three, I'm arguing about what we don't know.
Oh, well. Where are you gonna take the 3 from?
No, we have 24,000, take 3 and put it in the category. I mean,
In other words, what we do
Oh,
is,
take it out of the 24.
we reduce
Take it out of the
the
24.
transfer
All
from
right.
preventive maintenance
Okay.
by that amount, 3,800, so that the tax, the 24
Becomes 21.
gets, yeah.
All right, fine.
I mean, that's what Dean is saying, basically.
Yeah,
It comes
right.
out of taxes, and
I mean, as it stands now, we only have 2, so we got to plan on $3,000 coming out of somewhere, so might as well plan for it right now.
Okay.
so. $24,040
So what,
minus
where would this go for,
800 equals, so now we have 20,240 as the
where would
undercount.
this go? Under,
The change occurs,
where do we add it in? On which line of the,
no, we just reduce it.
no, which line of the budget does the $3,000 go for?
Oh, here,
On page 14.
it comes out here under this amended sheet that I just
Oh,
showed you.
okay. Well, how about in terms of the detail thing? Where would the
Well-
3,000 go?
Under revenue line. It doesn't, the physical number does not go in there. It
Okay.
goes, it's reduced.
Oh, I see, okay, all right.
So it's essentially the same line that you see here on the amended, instead of being 16,750 minus 3,800 equals, that number's not 16 anymore, that becomes 12,950. And by virtue of the fact that the revenue's reduced, the taxes are going up, and that changes that number. That's where it happens.
So, I'm sorry, what is it,
So that's 12,950.
12,950?
Yeah. And on the other sheets, it's page, I just get it here in a moment. If I find it. Yeah, and on page 28 in the detail, it's the same number there, and that gets changed to 12,950. And in essence, what we've done is we increased taxes by that amount. And that's what I just mentioned previously when I said the under tax cap got reduced,
Okay, so now we're by $3,000,
38.
38.
3,800.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that covers it that way. Again, if, as Dean said, if we get the third cemetery, we can cover it.
So we're now under the cap by how much?
20,240.
20,200? Okay,
40.
okay, got it, okay.
Excuse me.
Any other items on the budget other than salaries and special projects? Okay, then we'll move on to salaries. Anybody have any salary comments?
You were gonna go off and work those numbers that we
Yeah,
talked
well, I
about?
did, and that's it's all reflected in here.
I would still like to raise the issue of bumping April Tompkins up.
Oops, I guess it's me.
It's a 10% increase since her hourly wage is so low compared to the other clerks. It's nice to give her 7%, but even at 7%, she's still not at $15 an hour. If we were to give her 10%, that would kick her up to $15.40. And we're not talking about a huge amount of money because she's only working 10 hours a week.
Right.
So it's not going to make a big dent. You're talking about $50, basically. $50 a week. But I think it would be a nice gesture for somebody who's been here for a while now and really is there is quite a disparity between her hourly wage and the other folks. So I would like to put that out on the table, especially since it's not going to make a big difference as far as the bottom line is concerned.
Anybody else have comments?
I'm just wondering, we had talked about additional increases for everyone, right? And we went from the 1103 470 to 1119. And I'm just wondering,
What do you?
what does that
reading?
represent? Is that an increase for everybody like we talked about?
Yeah, except,
The tentative budget was 1,000,
oh, you're talking the total?
operations, is it, am I looking at the wrong, where's salaries on this?
There is no independent salaries
There's a
listed.
summary, there's a summary,
Okay.
the last
All
page,
right.
those salaries
Okay,
in your
Yeah.
budget. You could look at it.
is it in this
Yeah,
sheet
it
here?
looks like
Yeah.
this.
It's its own sheet,
The only ones that aren't accepted.
Yeah,
like the last page.
but what you handed out tonight doesn't have the salaries in it.
No,
And what we got last week, or last week.
no, what was in your mail?
Oh, I didn't get my mail.
They're in the back
I'm
of the room.
sorry.
I'll get them, they're in the back of the room.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
get the mail.
Because we sent an email
I
out.
thought you were bringing it to the
No,
meeting.
I
Sorry,
sent
Carol.
it, we put it there in yesterday morning so that people could get it and have a chance to take a
I
peek at it.
did not know that.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
emailed it.
The only folks who didn't get the 7% were Arlene, who got a little bit extra. And
Oh,
Theron.
Thank you,
Arlene
I'm sorry,
didn't
Carol.
get
She got the 10% that we talked
No,
about.
no,
Nah, I didn't get it, thanks.
she got 7.
Not in these numbers yet.
Not in these.
Oh, not in these numbers, no,
Not in
right,
these
not in these numbers. But Theron's number is still at 5,
No,
in these
he's at
numbers.
7.
Not in these numbers.
Not in these numbers.
He's at 5% in these
This
numbers.
is 5. 7% would be 60,840.
Right, everybody else
Oh,
is
okay.
7.
Then he's 5, yeah.
And we talked about increasing Arlene by a little bit, Arlene, and I think we should,
Well, let's finish up
Okay.
April. Let's
I
finish
mean,
up.
we're talking about such a trivial amount of money that I think it would be nice to give her a few extra bucks, basically.
Does that seem to be acceptable by everybody?
What does this represent, percentage-wise?
14, no, she's at 14.
I don't know which one it is.
Highway clerk.
Oh, there it
Highway
is, there it
clerk,
is. Okay.
1480 is what you, or 14...
1498.
Yeah, 1498. What I'm suggesting is 1540.
Is that what it comes out to be?
That would be 10% over what she is now, which is 14. So it would be-
14 flat.
She's got, yeah, 14 flat.
Well, no, she's,
She's at 14, and 10% would make it 1540.
Right.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah,
And it would add, I don't know, a few dollars because she only works 10 hours. So
10
it
hours,
doesn't
yeah.
add very much to the bottom line in terms of the
oh,
total.
no, I know.
You know.
Does everybody agree, then, by consensus, would do it?
I don't disagree in the number. I know it's semantics, but I don't like the idea of saying that one person is getting a 10% increase. I mean, in reality, she's the lowest paid person, and we're bringing her up to parity. So I know it's semantics, but
Closer to
to me, well, closer to parity. But, you know, to me, it may be semantics, but I don't like the idea that one person is getting 10%. What it is we're doing a little more because we're bringing someone up to a equalized number that's more realistic to the job.
But that's the same thing we've been doing with
Oh,
us.
Well, you know, we're bringing everybody up a percentage.
Everybody's,
No, I mean with the town board, we've been bringing us up a little bit more than the other people.
Well, that's a
because-
different story, because again, that goes back to the
I
25%
understand
cut.
that. But again, the idea is to try to achieve a little bit more.
Well, that's the parity thing, that's,
parity. Exactly,
and,
and that's all this does, really.
well,
To me, that's all it does.
Right.
Because it is such a.
I mean, I just don't want to highlight the 10%. Oh, I would rather highlight the fact that, you know, the person that job title should be getting certain amount of money, whether it be 14 or 15 or $16, whatever that number is, that's what we're bringing her to.
So you're not opposed to?
Oh, I'm not opposed.
The 10%, we shouldn't be advertising.
I don't like the word, I don't like the basis on how you got to the end result.
Tomato, tomato. right?
Exactly, I know it's picky, but that's the
No, that's
way
all
I,
right.
that's the way I think, so.
But it's, it only shows as a number.
I know.
There's no words attached to any of these numbers. So by consensus, everybody agree?
Yeah.
Everybody agree then?
Yep.
Okay, then by consensus, that number is, and that'll increase $50, $100, I don't know, whatever it comes out to be.
So it would be 1540 would be the hourly
Yeah.
for the highway clerk.
Okay, now, we had another one.
All right.
You had Arlene you wanted to talk about?
Well, again, I had the same issue there, and we've had this discussion before. I mean, she's, works long hours and has a lot of evening meetings and workshops.
And works full-time, not
and-
full-time, but quite a
well,
bit during the day.
Yeah, I mean, she's budgeted for 29 hours. I suspect she ends up working a lot of time off the clock, from which the town obviously benefits. And, again, what I would like to suggest, even though Dean doesn't like the words, the nomenclature, but she's not on an hourly, she's just
For
on
who?
a salary, 10% for Arlene.
For what-
Arlene.
What position?
Planning board.
For Arlene, yeah, and that would
It's
add.
clerk ZBA
And I
slash
think that,
planning.
actually did some numbers, and that would add about $700, I think, a year. I have the number written down here somewhere. She's now, well, at the 7%, she would be at 26,624,
Right.
and at 10%, she'd be at 27,370, so it adds about $700, a little bit more than $700, which I think is pretty minimal compared to the, when you think about the work we get out
Very
of her.
responsible position.
And it's in a very important job, and getting more important all the time, as a matter of fact, and she's basically doing two jobs. In the old days, building was separate from planning and zoning. Now they're the same. So, or I should say they're with the same person. So it is a very responsible job. So that would be my,
So that would
Suggestion
be
there.
at 10%, as you suggested,
so, yeah.
just from a math standpoint. So that's 27 what?
27,370 is what
Oh,
I
yeah.
get,
27,
Right, and that's-
370.
but I mean, she'll still be 29 hours, so she's
No,
still.
no, I'm
right,
just
still part-time.
trying to-
Right, 27,370.
Trying to get the number here. Any further discussion on that? And by consensus, we all agree?
I'm just figuring out something.
Okay, well, then we'll wait till you're done figuring.
Thank you. So, I mean, in comparison, it was like an 1840 per hour position at $29 an hour,
The 29 hours.
and 29 hours a
Yeah.
week. So, in comparison to other department head, area things, I mean, that's where I would rather, use as an example. So if we want to put all those people on the same playing field, that would be the comparison. And I know it's hard because now we've changed some of the titles to salaried rather than hourly, but
Right.
using that same idea
Right.
as a number.
I mean, I'd support the change.
How do you do that administratively, though, if some people are salary and some people are hourly?
Well, you're figuring out what hours that they're working. I mean, some people changed it
And
just so
we-
that the
we
pay
changed it
wasn't
in
going up
HR.
and down
Right.
because of the hours worked, 1 month more and the other month less. It was just a way of
Okay.
drawing a straight line, but
Well, that's true, right, yeah, right. Although I would guess in Arlene's case, and probably in many others, hourly people are working more.
They're actually working sort
I'm
of
sorry, salary
full-time.
people are, yeah.
Sort of
exactly.
full-time.
Yeah, yeah, or at least quasi-full-time,
Yeah.
but not getting paid to be
That's-
quasi-full-time,
Yeah.
so.
That's standard.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that, but I think that should be part of our, part of our calculations is acknowledging the fact that people are working
Extra.
more than they're technically
Yeah.
budgeted for. But, 29 hours, fine, if you want to use that as a,
Well, that's the number you just said.
well,
but that, you
that's
know,
in terms of a,
Right.
sure.
The
a barometer.
calculation.
Yeah, you can do that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, you can do that. But I think that's a reasonable hourly wage
Yeah.
when you're talking about 18, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was, 1840.
Well, I'm just saying that everybody in that same level position should be making that same amount is where my point is.
But I think, I'd have to go through and look at it. I think that's pretty much ballpark for where most people are. Up in the high 17s, low 18s, no?
I'm looking
So what are
at
you
the assistant to the supervisors at 1873.
So she's up to,
Right.
okay, so it's in the ballpark. And I think the deputy clerk is up there, right, isn't?
She's at 17 and change.
If you did that, yeah.
So I'm just saying that
Yeah.
if we're gonna use that as an example, then everybody in that position should be rated at the same level, is what I'm saying.
But they have
Not
different
the
number of
same.
hours.
It's not, and it's not the same responsibility.
No.
Well, that's
at
what I'm
all.
saying, the people in the same responsibility should be paid,
And it's the same hours.
Arlene is in my responsibility.
that's what I'm saying.
She's not in the supervisor secretary does not have nearly the responsibility that Arlene or I do.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, she's
So then
getting
she should be
paid more, the secretary is being paid more.
Exactly, right,
And
right.
that's why I would even say that Arlene should be paid more,
Yeah.
using a standard that people at certain levels should have the same pay rate.
So, we agreed on changing that number? Is there consensus, or
Well, my consensus would be to pay more, only for the fact that,
you mean to Arlene?
To Arlene.
Well, I'm just trying to get one done at a time.
so if we want to use an example, let's say 19. I mean, I didn't look to see what the others would be.
19.
But just to use as an example, so if we said 19 times 29
Times
times
52,
52, oops,
comes out to what?
so it would be 28,652.
28,652, that's about $4,000 more than she's getting now.
28,462. Okay.
Because now she's at 24,882. So that's 15% increase over where she is now.
I'm just going by what the person should be making and
Yeah,
that level of responsibility.
I'm sure she'd be very pleased with that.
Oh, yeah.
What was your hourly, 19?
I used 19 just as a number to throw it out
And what
there.
was it again, 20,
Just to pick a number.
28, what? 28,
19 times-
28,462. 28,462.
462, 28,462. So that's about $4,000 more than she's getting now.
No, there, when you, I come from a background that says you have a base for a title, for instance, clerks, whatever. And you say that's the base, that's the minimum base that they would earn. But then you look at the complexity
Yeah.
of their job, okay? And then you work off that base, and then that's where you have the varying different amounts. And I think you've got to make sure you take that into consideration when you're looking at the clerks. There were a couple of them here that have, I think, a lot of responsibility, and there are others that, I'm not saying they don't have, they're not critical to the operation, but they have a lot of responsibility. There's a big difference, so I just think you need to make sure that you consider both of those things.
So-
Not just give everybody the same base salary.
So, we're looking at 28,000 or 27,000. Do we have a consensus on either one of them? I'll go with the 28.
Okay, it's a little over 14% increase over where she is now, to go with your number.
I don't like percentages.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, I forgot, you don't like percentages. You don't like percentages. I think that's a very nice offer.
So do you agree or disagree?
Sure, absolutely, yeah, if we can
Yeah.
afford to do
Michael?
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we can afford to
Nancy,
do it,
you
sure.
agree with 28?
Are we keeping track of what what it's gonna do to the bottom line?
I don't know offhand. We can do a quick analysis, but I want to get finished with
Well,
all of them.
28 versus what did we,
It was up by like 3,800, 3,600.
That's what, yeah, well, that's what it's up now.
Yeah.
so 3,600, and then just quick math, say another,
$1,000 on top of that.
900, I was gonna say for,
Fringe benefit.
30%, roughly nine,
So it's about $4,500
about
altogether
$4,500 off the bottom line.
when you factor in, yeah.
Right.
We're in the 16 range.
So that comes out of the 20,240,
Minus
right?
4,500, okay.
And then also, we have to put in
April,
April.
you said it was about $100 or something like that? $50,
Yeah.
100?
It's about, it was like $40 a week or something.
Well, no,
10 hours
per
a week.
year.
So it's 2,000,
Well, $2,000 a year, give or take, yeah.
so figure.
$700 on top of that.
So,
What, that'd be 35%? So that
30%. or-
Okay, that would be $600 on top of that.
Okay, so it's 600 for her. I'm just trying to get the
Right.
numbers here.
So we're down to about 15,000 in terms of what's left under the tax cap,
About that.
right?
Minus 4,500 minus 600 equals 15,140. Is what's left now. Any more
Well,
on the sheet?
if we're gonna go along with, we don't like the arbitrary of, the arbitrary numbers, then I think it's pretty arbitrary that everybody got a 7% except for the highway superintendent that got a 5.
Right,
But their contract doesn't call, the highway?
Highway superintendent.
right,
Yeah.
He got a 5% increase and everyone
Right.
else got 7 or
Right.
more.
that's correct. And all summer, he only works half-time.
Is it in any legislation anywhere how many hours he's supposed to work or how many
No.
you're supposed to
He-
work? or-
He's being paid full-time, 40-hour week.
No. No.
That's what he's on for retirement. So that's the basis
Who,
I use.
what elected or person in here is to have to put in 40 hours a week?
My argument here is that it's an elected position. We're
That's
not
right.
talking about the individual that's doing it.
That's right.
So if we want to attract the right people to run for these offices, we have to pay them commensurate to what everybody else is getting. And that 7% raise should go to it. And if the voters think the person isn't earning that money, well, then they can make that determination at election time. That's not something for us to do.
No, I agree with you, and that's what I said last week, is that, we have to bring a lot of these positions up to what the industry standard is. I mean, I think everybody in the town is lower than, so that was the idea behind the 7%. And so if you looked at other highway superintendents, I mean, he is one of the lower of those. Plus, there was many years where, even though he didn't take a pay cut, he actually came to the board and said, I don't want a pay increase. So he took flat years, while everybody else was getting 2%. I would go along with what you said.
My concern is the message it gives us is the fact that we're paying full-time for some part-time operation. That's my concern. And we're not changing people. We're not having an election.
Well, unfortunately, the elects are not bound by a punching a clock. I'm sure there are times, especially since there are snowstorms, where Theron worked a whole lot more than 40 hours in a week. So it kind of balances out over the years, and being
Not
on
really.
call at night, if a tree comes down or a phone wire comes down, and having to go out in the middle of the night and get those phone calls, I mean, that also goes part of that job position as well. So,
Understand, but there's a lot of extra time that I put in too, that's not counted.
Because you're salaried.
Huh?
Even though we're elected, we're still salaried by virtue of the legal
Oh, yeah, we're
definition.
salaried.
And it doesn't matter. When you're salaried, you can put in 30 hours or you can put in 300 hours and you're still going to get the same amount of money. That's what the law implies.
As long as the job is getting done, and that's the
The
decision
job
of the
gets
voters, is
done.
whether they think the person is doing the job or not.
That's right. There isn't anything that isn't being done in the highway department that Karen has
And I
responsibility.
think it needs to be
That's your
brought up.
judgment.
Huh?
I'm not gonna discuss it at
I
this level.
think what needs to be brought up too is that at the last meeting, we all agreed that it would be a 7% across the board, and you individually decided to just make it 5% for him.
That's right.
Even though all of us had decided 7.
But we'll put it at 7.
So it would be 60,840.
So how much is that now? We're getting,
Yeah.
we may all be painting the building ourselves.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
roughly $1,000
Did any of you
more.
guys work on a ladder?
It's
I'm
roughly
young still.
So now we're down to about 1,400.
1,000 roughly.
Michael's going up, I'll hold it.
What is that, 61, I'm sorry? 60,000,
840, so it's another 1,100.
1,100 plus,
30%.
plus, yeah, another, what, $400 on top of
Yeah.
that, so it's 1,500, give or take.
Oh, 15?
Well, when you factor in the 30% for the benefits, it'll come out to be about $1,500.
No, his benefits don't change.
Who? Why not?
You gotta pay more FICA, more workers' comp, more
Sure.
social security.
Oh, well, that applies to everybody else.
Well, that's why
Yeah,
we've
that's
been
what
throwing
we're
in a
adding.
30% fudge
Yeah,
factor.
but we've been adding that in as we go along,
Oh,
or at least approximately.
oh, okay. Yeah,
So 1,500 would bring us down to 13,500, more approximately, in terms of being under the cap.
Mhm.
Right?
okay, okay, because I was writing the numbers in the columns here as to the pays, not as to the.
Yeah, but we've been
With the
doing,
loaded ones.
Well, we've been doing the
we've been doing the
arithmetic
math,
for
and
you.
that's what we've been
Oh.
subtracting there, so.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Um,
Any more?
I'm loath to do it now, but we haven't discussed the tax collector at all, and she has sent several emails to us, and I think some good points were made. It's a position that does require, as per the county, either a bachelor's degree or 5 years' experience or a combination thereof. And at the 400,
So
Yeah.
let's just take one step back, because we had this argument before with Colleen when she was the tax collector and she wanted her assistant. So now we're talking about the $1,500 that we wouldn't give Colleen for her assistant to actually raise even beyond that in just a salary. And when I did a comparison of all the towns, our tax collector was at the base salary was more without the tax assistant. And so when, again, trying to use the comparison to other towns and stuff like that, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we should be at that high level or, below that level either. I mean, you gotta look in what it takes to do it, but in comparison to other towns our size, the pay that the tax collector was getting at the time was above the average of all the other towns. And so, the fact that we've given everybody a 7% increase kind of chips away at whatever the argument is, but at the same time, I also mentioned to her that there's a little bit of a learning curve in the first year. So granted, I'm sure this year she worked a lot more, having to learn the position, and once time comes on, she'll refine those hours, not having to learn as much, and probably the cost that she felt like the amount of hours that she used versus the dollars that she was being paid will
it'll adjust, yeah.
adjust and come in line with, what's reality.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not like married to it. I don't completely disagree. I will say it is a skilled position that not anybody can do. I don't think just anyone could run for that and do the job well. It requires a skill, it requires an education,
And
and
it's
at the current rate, if the 400 hours a year is correct, it's $17.20 an hour. And I don't know of many people with bachelor's degrees with a skill like that, that would take $17 an hour in a job, even if it's a government job. It seems very low to me.
And it's getting more difficult with all the programs that they gotta operate to make it work.
Yeah.
So what do you propose?
Well, I mean, we were talking about going to 19, right, with the clerk one? And that's just a random base number that I'm using.
$19 an hour.
Yeah, so that would bring it up to 7,600 instead of the 6,893.
70.
Again, the 400 hours is really based on what? I mean, it could have been the fact that, of that learning curve too, so,
Absolutely.
I mean, the number 76 doesn't scare me as much as how we got there, as far as the hours and the time that it takes to do the position.
I think about the responsibility too. I mean, overall, it's not just our taxes, it's the county, it's the fire departments, the school tax. I mean,
Not school.
I'm sorry, yeah, but she's collecting like upward, the warrant is like $6 million or just under $6 million that she's collecting and responsible for. And that's
Oh, yeah.
it's a heck of a responsibility that we're putting on somebody,
Again, I go back to what other towns are doing too. I
Yeah.
mean, and,
But those towns may also be, they went through the same financial crisis that everybody did, so they may be low as well.
Granted, and that's why I say you can't really
And they're done different ways too.
apply that as being the,
Yeah.
the holy grail of decision-making, but
So that would increase it essentially $800.
What is it now? So you said 71?
It'd
I
be
said
six-
7,600 at least. That would, from the current one,
6893 or something?
oh, yeah.
It's six, well, I'm just looking
Although
at the
that's the
increase from
7%.
the budget standpoint.
So it would be 700.
We
obviously.
had, yeah,
She's at what, 66 something is what she's at now?
6442 is this year's.
no,
In the
I
budget,
was
it's at
looking at the,
6893.
yeah, 6893.
Yeah,
And your number is 70...
600.
93
So it's
minus
$1,200.
70.
when it's that low of a number, is a pretty big increase.
$707 I
Yeah.
come up with,
Yeah.
increase over the
right,
year.
times 30%, 210, so figure
Figure
900
900,
off the budget.
920.
920.
But that's where that $19 an hour, if that's the number, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it. As being that, you're bringing everybody to a,
Yeah, and I mean, I recognize the number that was asked for in the email it was a big increase.
right.
After the discussions we had with Colleen, it seems problematic.
Well, that's why I bring it up as being a problem, but again, we're kind of splitting the difference of that $1,500 with 800 too. I mean, I think if the example was presented as how many hours was being spent versus I spend a lot of hours, it brings it more justification. We didn't have any justification either.
Okay.
But I do find that to be problematic, that's why I brought it up.
So we finding 7,600 acceptable? Consensus?
Well, for now,
Huh, for now?
yeah, it keeps
Elliot seems like he's
You want
going
more?
down.
weighing,
I don't know, the equity issue is troubling. The fairness issue is what bothers me a little bit, in terms of
No,
trying to
ju-
be even-handed in
No.
terms of how you
Yeah.
treat
Ju-
people.
well, that's why using a $19 an hour
Yeah, that,
becomes even-handed, that's why I like using the
Well,
formula
instead of
that's
the
fair.
The one number that we know. Yeah, and now you realize,
we
we
work-
can put all these changes.
No,
in,
I understand that.
And
Right.
then we go public hearing.
Right, right.
And then we have to go through the numbers if there's
But
any
Colleen-
changes we want,
Colleen was nowhere near $19 an hour.
so,
Well, that was also 2 years ago, so.
and she had a helper.
that was,
For part of the time. But then
Well-
we stopped the helper at some
No.
point. She was on her own, wasn't she?
No?
The last
She-
year, I thought we
No.
did away
No.
with the helper.
No, he
No,
was there.
He was there.
No,
He was there.
Yep.
Oh, he was there.
$1,300 worth.
And he had to come in that last month to
Save us.
collect
For
those
another
extra taxes.
500. So basically, the current tax collector is doing it without the deputy, and we split the difference on the money that the deputy
Okay.
was making.
Yeah. Okay, so that was okay?
So what are
Any
we at?
more salary?
So what are we at, 76 something or other?
So now we're down to 13,220.
All right.
That's almost to the penny.
Almost to the penny. Not quite.
What number did you say, right, 13?
That's it right here.
Okay,
So
just
she's at
keeping track of where
7,600
you are.
for-
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to,
Yeah,
because those numbers are
gotcha.
loaded with
Gotcha.
benefits, and these numbers are not loaded.
So I think we originally only applied, if we're going off of salaries now, we only applied 15,000, and obviously the buildings need more than 15.
Yeah.
So that's, any more salary stuff?
No.
Okay, then we'll close the salary part. And then we'll go
I want the
into,
rest.
And Carol would like the
And I'll
rest.
take, and I'll take the rest.
Yeah, you said there's 13,000 left?
That's about right.
that'll let you buy your flashy car.
Yeah, what am I driving now? I think I'm driving a 2001. No, the only thing Carol Mackin wants.
Okay, here it is.
Door, that Dutch door.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I didn't bring that list this
I think you should have
There it
half
is, I got the
bulletproof
list.
glass on that front wing.
The
Yeah,
infamous
I do
wish
too,
list.
but I'm scared of it.
Okay, so we still have that number there, 13,220.
Now,
The only one we,
for those of us who've only done this 2 times before, if we go over the 13, what happens? The cap,
Dean says no.
well, besides that, what happens?
legally, nothing.
Okay,
The only thing that happens is the residents will not get approximately $25 rebate on the tax cap.
No, it was
Because
more than
that-
that, because
No,
there's
no.
the county rebate.
No,
Oh,
it's only the town piece.
yeah,
The county still can give theirs, and everybody else gives theirs.
Yep.
It's just us. Our piece is around, comes out about $25 to $40 from prior discussions we've had at various supervisors. So that's what the impact is.
that's all.
That's all.
Okay, if I make the assumption that all the things that, excuse me, I'm sorry, on our wish list, none of those have been included in that
No,
bottom line?
None of them.
Okay. So we've got no more than $13,000 to spend.
If you want to stay within,
So
I
if
want to
it's-
stay
if
in
it's
the
only a
cap.
matter of $25, $30, $40, then what's the,
I mean, that's a physical impact on the people's
right, I understand,
taxes.
but it's pretty small. So what's the incentive to not exceed the tax cap?
Just looks good.
being physically conservative.
Being conservative, but, I mean, we've missed the tax cap on occasion where it went up, like, I was $7,000 over the tax cap. I mean, I'm not $3 million over or anything like that.
And nothing happened, I mean.
Nothing happened.
The sun still comes up
Yep,
tomorrow.
yep.
and
The only
whatever.
thing is, the people don't get their $25, $40, whatever that is. And it varies depending on
Right,
each budget,
okay.
so. So, you know, now, let's do the development funds things down at the bottom. We got, looks like we probably will have somebody doing one of the dugouts, replacing the roofs. I don't know which one.
I thought one,
Has Dan been involved in this? Because when you mentioned it last
No.
meeting, that was news to me.
Well, I
You
just
don't mind me just looking over?
knew it the day or so before, I
Right.
just found out.
Well, shouldn't Dan be
Yeah.
involved in this?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, he hasn't been,
no,
so.
but again, that comes out of the,
No, I'm talking about,
it's not taxes.
he's the director,
Yeah.
and they're gonna do one dugout, and it's gonna be done by,
Boy Scouts.
monitored by a
yeah.
professional, but done by not
Eagle Scouts,
professional.
yeah.
And he doesn't know anything about it,
Yeah.
and that's
I'm
not
sorry, I
right.
missed him.
So I'm gonna email him tonight,
Go ahead, be my
all
guest.
right?
Does this,
And
does
then I'll
having
put
Nancy
him
here,
in touch with
she's
you.
gonna do all these things, is that the idea?
Well, it's all under rec fund, yeah.
But she's gonna do the work, right? Isn't that the
Well,
plan?
she asked about them. Yeah.
Nancy, you're gonna do all these things?
They're her projects.
You're not gonna do all those things. You personally.
Thank goodness you got your neighbor close. You got a lot of work to do.
So, you know, these are not in the budget, but if we wanted to move something from here to the budget, we can. That's why I wanted to do that. Otherwise, these just come out of 110,000, which is not being replaced much in the last 10 years,
These are
because
from
we don't have any,
subdivisions.
we don't have
This is what this is,
subdivisions,
right.
yeah. One or two subdivision lot don't
Well,
count.
they're small ones, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you need 6 or 10 or 20,
Yeah, which we haven't
and
had
we don't
before.
have.
No,
So
it's been a while since we've had
it's,
this.
you gotta be careful in using up the money, because when it's gone, it's gone. Then it goes to taxes.
Right.
So, that's all I'm worrying about. Now, we did put the picnic tables in the budget. They're under the rec budget,
All right.
$2,000 worth.
Okay.
That's what,
If the budget is gonna be very close, and there are so many other demands, why can we not take out the picnic tables and all of that stuff and put it in?
that's the only thing from this list that's in here. I don't know what else you're gonna take out.
Okay. Well, we had the fence, we had both
But
dugouts.
that's not written in here.
Or it should have been.
I don't think she
Says ballpark
understands
fence.
where you're
Yeah.
talking about it's written.
Where are you
right?
reading this from?
In the budget.
I think you need to clarify that for Nancy.
Yeah, but
I
why
don't
not
think
leave-
she understands it.
Why not leave it so that it's not a budget issue? If it's only,
Yeah, why don't we put the picnic tables in here?
just leave it where
But
it
they
is.
can all come out of subdivision, and to help save
Okay, I'll take.
what we
I'll
have.
take it out, but when we talked about it with Dan
Yeah,
and you
and-
said put it in the rec funds. And I
Right.
put it under rec general funds.
Right.
We can take it out.
Well, I'm just thinking, we've dwindled our
Right.
availability of funds in the general, so why not put this under subdivision and give us a little more money to do something other than rec park stuff?
Okay, so that brings us back to 15,220. Remove the rec bench.
And we're gonna put this in the subdivision.
In the development thing, right. In
The development funds.
Or-
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
development
Yeah, it's the
subdivision, whatever you
last
wanna
item.
call it.
Last,
Okay.
oh, my mistake, it's not the last item. It's the
Next to
second
last,
last
right.
item.
Okay.
Now, we don't have to vote on any of these development fund things as part of the budget. The reason I brought it up was if we're gonna move them from one to
Right.
the other,
Right.
that we do that decision now before we hit the other things. That
Right.
was all. So, okay, we got that taken out, and we moved it over here, and it brought us up to 15,220. Now, we're in the top part of the list. And, I don't know, let's see, we got 15,000, so you could do radar, speed traps, you said there's 7,000. Obviously, we can't do a generator or solar panels. Replace any of the kitchen stuff. You said 15,000 a year for painting, well, there's 15, 20, 220.
Oh, so you didn't even put in the 15 for the painting?
No, it's not in there, but I'm just
Right.
saying, if we,
Yeah, I thought that was originally what was supposed to go into this budget. I think we absolutely have to do the painting. I mean, it's just
have you
getting worse and worse.
inquired with anybody to know how much painting that yields?
I'm guessing that it's gonna be $80,000 to paint all the buildings.
Start with one.
Do that.
So what I was saying is, let's budget for as much as we can and do as much as we can. So,
Exactly.
you know, if it's the smaller schoolhouse for 15,000,
It's a
and then
start.
next year 25 for
Or
the
three
Masonic, or
sides
30.
Two sides. whatever it comes
or
out.
half a side, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's expensive. It's
I
probably
know, but we gotta start somewhere.
45,000 an hour,
maybe over the-
$45 an hour.
Over the
for
course of 2 or
person.
3 years, we might be able to get them up to speed. I mean, it's obviously not all gonna be done at once, but gotta start
I mean,
somewhere.
we'll put it in. I'm just saying that's
I
what's
think
left.
I think
what's
the-
left, we have to do the maintenance, because it's just getting to a point where we're
Yes,
gonna end up
absolutely.
having to replace
Yeah.
instead
I
of
would
just
Cost us a
repair.
lot more.
I think Dean's approach is the sensible one, is to just put, choose a
Okay.
certain amount of money and
So we'll
do
put
what we can for that amount.
15,000 for painting,
Whatever.
and that'll go under 1620. And that'll be
1620?
200.
Category.
That's a category, the
Category?
expense account,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So it leaves 220, and 220 is
So with all these
lost in
numbers-
the errors.
Yeah, if we have some errors in our math and we
Well,
end
we'll
up
see
over
it.
by 500, can we
Okay.
make that 14.5 instead?
Well,
You know.
we can make that.
Yeah,
If
we
it's,
can-
if it's over, Carol says she'll
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
it.
she'll
I think
contribute.
I just heard
That's
that.
what I
I'm
heard.
very good at painting, by the way. I shouldn't say that.
I can do
Dean will stand
windows,
on the bottom of
You
ladders.
do do
do
windows.
windows, but not on
Do
ladders.
it all.
So,
Dean's gonna come and hold
so
your lap.
those are
I'll
the
hold the ladder.
changes.
That's a scary thought.
Crank them through,
Right.
and that'll become then the adopted budget. So we adopt these changes tonight, and then we'll print them up on Monday, Tuesday.
And this is what comes up
And
for the
that
public
comes
hearing.
up for the public hearing,
2
and we
weeks
can
from
still
today.
change it again. I mean, this is not cast in concrete at this point.
Yeah, we have until, what, the third week of November to?
20th of
20th.
November.
Are we gonna see these numbers one more time in their entirety?
Yeah.
Before we go, okay.
Yeah, that'll be for the public hearing, which we'll have in 2 weeks or something like that. And then after the
November
public
1st.
hearing, we
I
can
wanna
still
see
change
what-
it
I wanna
again.
see the changes
Yeah, but we can,
before the public hearing.
It'll be next week.
Is this thing in
yeah,
there?
next week we
It's
crank
out right
these
now.
out. 'Cause I gotta go
Alright.
in and remark all these
I'm
things.
trying to see where my rec budget was, because I'm wondering if there's anything else we can move over to give a little more flexibility.
I don't know of anything else.
Detailed budget, she can see that, not the.
Ray, do we
You're
have any
looking
idea
in the
what this,
master.
I know, I can't,
Use
what these
the-
rec
I don't-
numbers are gonna be?
This is
No.
that one underneath, yeah,
Not even
that,
a
pull that
ballpark?
out.
No.
Pull that,
this one?
no,
Well,
the one underneath.
the additional picnic
Yeah.
tables is 2,000.
Couple thousand,
Because
yeah.
we picked that from
Use
the
that.
budget here, and that's
And
what.
rec is
right, but the other stuff, we have no
7110.
idea.
And benches, Dan said was 2,000
Page
for the
11.
Okay,
rec park out here.
right. But the roofs and the fence and, no, we don't know.
Now, we found out under one set of roofs, we probably have enough shingles in storage that we can do that.
And
So,
there's a
so there's
Boy
no
Scout,
labor or anything.
Eagle Scout
And the
project.
Eagles, so there's no labor and just
You
nails
think,
and,
you think $10,000 will cover those 5
What?
projects?
What, 10,000?
For those rec
To cover
development?
what, the roofs and stuff?
Well, all 5 of them. You think 10,000?
All
20
well, the
five.
one set of roofs
The
should
ones
be
at the bottom,
free,
the ones at the bottom of the page.
essentially
Now,
free.
Nancy, now he's talking about
We're talking about
this,
the rec
wish
development
list.
fund.
Oh, okay, and
wish
for some reason, I don't have that
I
copy.
just wonder how much is,
wish
we're gonna
Let me
need.
just look at it,
Just go under
please.
there and,
I'm looking- Oh,
Dugout,
Speed over there. That's your job.
fence, no, it won't cover the fence.
10,000 won't cover, no?
Dugouts,
yeah, the
yes.
fence is gonna be expensive.
Picnic tables, yes.
Again, there's 110,000 in the
Benches.
rec fund, so
Well, what I'm wondering is,
The only thing we could possibly do is see if we could, and Dan had suggested this, if the posts are good, then just replace the fence. So I
Yeah.
could,
But you gotta get a decision from a fenced
oh,
guy.
I would call one tomorrow and ask them to come out and look
the,
at it.
Yeah,
the speed sign, can that come out of there?
no,
No.
It can't? It's a,
no,
not unless it's in
not
the
rec.
park.
what?
It's not recreation.
All right.
No.
Not unless it's right behind home plate and they're gauging the speed.
A ball.
And then we
Sandy Koufax.
requisite from the,
No.
down the street.
This list is separated very carefully for that
Okay, no,
aspect.
just thought I would ask.
No, nice try.
But every dime of these 5 can come out of,
Well, no, I understand. I was hoping
not out
maybe,
of the general
right,
fund.
I was hoping maybe we could use some of it for other things
Yeah, no.
that we could use.
No, it's a it's a
Okay.
TA account,
Got it.
which has a special set of rules that established it.
Right.
And we can only use it on particular things. Okay, so with that, then, let me find out where my other stuff is.
May I ask a question? Just for information? That was rhetorical.
Oh, okay.
Keeping in mind that I know nothing about computers, I need somebody to explain to me
What?
this exchange of emails that you had with Fred about the server.
Yeah.
What is it in English, so I understand? What does this mean?
There are certain programs that we must have on the server, one class, the BAS programs, because they are not able to be transferred to the cloud. There's no mechanism that allows them to be handled up in the cloud. The other thing is the security of all the computers we have, you know, that we all use here, except for the court and the library, they're separate. Authentication as us being the user of that is all controlled by the server.
So that means we can never use the cloud.
Not until they improve the capability of the cloud to allow certain programs to be put in it, like the BAS programs.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, most of these, like BAS and all these other ones, will probably be a cloud-based program. I mean, even Microsoft with their 360 is becoming, you're not installing it on your computer, you're
No.
using the cloud,
Right.
you know,
But that's their
360
stuff.
program, that's theirs, but they keep it updated, so overall, you're better off that way.
But right now, that's the reason why we can't transfer yet. Because that affects a lot of our operation, BAS stuff. And I don't know if the Laserfish is also upgradable.
I haven't asked.
No, but I'm
Yeah,
just,
I'd have
I
to
think that's
research
another
that.
one too, because,
That's off our server too.
yeah, so I think that's another one which is gotta
Have
be,
to consider that as well.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
yeah, so those two program areas keep us down at the server, okay?
I'd like to
Sure.
ask a question. We're talking about taking the 15,000 to paint one of the buildings, which says we're at 0. I really want to get that $7,000 radar machine. Is it ethical for me to give up my salary increase toward that?
The best way to do that would be to take the salary increase and do a donation to the town.
Okay, it isn't going to pay for all of it,
Well,
but I'm hoping
whatever.
that we can somehow squeak out a couple thousand somewhere. I really think it's important. And there's other things we need to,
Oh, yeah.
to reduce speed and stuff on streets and whatever. But I really think that we need, that it's becoming, I'm getting a lot of calls, believe it or not, about speed on the county roads that go through here as well as the secondary roads. And I really think this is the time to get that. And we've found a good one, you know, at first we were talking 9,000, we're talking a little under 7.
It's changed. That's okay.
But I don't want it to make us go over the tax cap. So I'm posing a problem, but I'm really adamant about trying to find a solution.
Well, what I could do for the 7,000 is take it out of the unexpended balance, which means I'll be okay, I think, getting through the first 3 months of the year. That's my cushion that I gotta watch. But 7,000, or what, is that what it was?
Yeah, 7,000.
7,000, you said.
So why don't we wait until the end of March, when we get our tax collections and everything else, and if you have the ability
Well, no,
to
I
use
can-
the expended funds,
Well, we can, I don't, know. I won't know in the end of March.
no?
Because it'll be the end of April,
All
because.
right, so
she'll
the end
do
of
it 2
April.
months. We can move it out at that time, or we can move it now, and then, we can't buy anything anyways. anything big because we don't have the cash.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta pay, the bond, the interest, the retirement, the
I
insurance.
understand.
We got big bills that come due, so those gotta get paid, and I gotta have the cash to pay them.
So what would happen if if we bought this thing in January and then April rolls around and the money isn't there? What's the worst case scenario?
Well, that's why I'm saying, let's not do it. Let's wait until,
I don't want to buy stuff on the expectation.
Well,
The
if you
only-
didn't wait till April, then you wait till April, sure.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to do it now.
No,
I thought you didn't want to wait till April
no.
to do it.
The only thing we do typically now is we buy a truck in November or so, but the delivery doesn't come until April or May.
Right.
And that way we save the price increase that occurs at the beginning of a year.
And that doesn't come out of our fund anyway. It's out of
Well,
CHIPS money.
Yeah, I understand, but we still write the check
Right.
out of our money.
But
so
we
I
always
gotta
have the CHIPS money back before
Underst-
that.
No, we don't get CHIPS money until we pay for it. It
Well,
comes out of our
But we've got
cash.
CHIPS money in the bank right now.
It's up in Albany, it's not here.
Okay,
It's an IOU from Albany. So
okay.
we gotta have
we have to
cash to
spend it,
write
we have to
checks.
receive it, and
Then
then
spend
we
it,
can
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
get reimbursed for it.
It
so.
winds up to be about a 3-month delay. And that's what we're working on right now, hoping to get the reimbursement from CHIPS for the truck that we just paid for. Almost $250,000 truck.
All right. So
So we'll wait till April.
what's the bottom line on the speed machine?
So he's saying, come April, when he has the money and knows what's what, then he can take it out of
Surplus.
surplus.
Okay,
I think
can I
I can
take,
do 7,
can I take that to the bank?
yeah.
Okay.
I think I can do that. I mean, it's a small number.
Bank's up
but
in Albany.
20 or
Take that to
30
the
or
bank,
so,
yeah.
I can't do it.
I think it's really important.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This way, when you're on the ladder painting, you won't see cars speeding by, okay?
And
So we'll
with
just
that
do,
thing, we
a-
might get more
we'll just do a
V&T
motion for
money
that.
coming in, so there you go.
Well, there's no lawyer fees.
Have to pay for the lawyer.
Okay, so
There it is.
I'll find my,
Ray, are you going to make your motion?
oh yeah, as
for,
soon as I
like,
find it.
As of, you wanna read mine?
All right, I got it here someplace. Because I was talking with it just a while ago.
You can use the money up, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, where did he get to?
A couple half-hour phone calls, it'll be gone.
Here's your minute.
Here it is, I got it.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the approves the 2019 preliminary budget as amended, and will hold a public hearing on said budget on Thursday, November 1st, 2018, at 7 PM at the Clinton Town Hall. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn.
What, just for, out of curiosity, Ray,